This is sort of a follow-up to my previous video where I talked about Henry Cavill coming back to be Superman. I think that he's more than likely coming back, but it seems like it's not quite a done deal. I do think it's going to happen, but we have a little bit more context to what's going on now. And it's really very, very similar to the Marvel and Sony Spider-Man dilemma. If you remember, not that long ago, every day there was a new shift in what was going on with Tom Holland and the shared character of Spider-Man between Sony and Marvel. If you don't know what's going on, real quick summary. When Marvel was almost bankrupt, they sold the movie rights to many characters, and Sony got the movie rights to Spider-Man. So while Marvel does technically own Spider-Man, Sony owns the absolute rights to Spider-Man in film. They don't own anything else. So it's really kind of a strange process because if Marvel wanted to play hardball, they could do exactly what they did with the X-Men and bury Spider-Man. So they own the rights to the merchandise, video games, everything else. So really the only profits that Sony makes off of Spider-Man is from the movie. The real profits are always in toys and merchandise. So this is kind of one of the reasons I think Sony is working with Marvel so much is they make a little bit extra money and so on and so on. But if you remember, there was big contract negotiations. First they're saying, oh, Sony's out, Marvel's out, Sony wants this, Marvel wants more money, and so on and so on. Oh, we're canceling the deal, the door is closed. Wait, there might be a new chance. Everything that was going on there was to get leverage for the contract. So the first thing was they outed that there was a bumpy road to the contract deal to get a leverage so that they can get a better deal when they sit down at the table. It's all politics. That's really what it is. It's all a big political game. And it looks like that's what's going on here with Henry Cavill coming back to Superman. And so let me go over this article because there's some really interesting stuff in here. And then we're going to talk about JJ because it kind of sounds like JJ might have the final approval of bringing Cavill back. And that sucks. I can't stand JJ Abrams. And I really wish that they would just give him the boot. It's early enough that they could. I don't think they're going to because for some reason Hollywood thinks that JJ Abrams is the next Steven Spielberg or something. This guy isn't qualified to get Steven Spielberg his coffee. So anyway, contradicting recent reports that's claimed that Henry Cavill back as Superman is not a done deal. On Wednesday, is seen that it was reported that Henry Cavill is returning to the Superman role, but only as appearances in other DC movies, and also that Warner Brothers has no plans in place for a Man of Steel 2. So that was the rumor they were going to sprinkle him in other movies, like kind of like the Hulk. So you would have him appear in, kind of like how Hulk was in Thor Ragnarok. It was speculated the reason for doing that is to see if there was interest in doing a Man of Steel 2. Okay, how is the reception for him in these movies? Is it really high? Okay, it is. Let's do a Man of Steel 2. That was really the report that was going on. Okay, so this report came from Deadline, probably the biggest of the Hollywood trade sites. So basically that means Deadline was fed the info from a Hollywood source to publish. And that's why it's so believable is because Deadline reported on it. However, now the Hollywood Reporter is claiming otherwise, as THR says the situation is complicated. And then, so that's the thing. So Cosmic Book News goes on to say here that basically what's going on here is probably Cavill's camp sent Deadline info and Warner Brothers probably sent THR info. So what that basically means is that they're trying to get leverage over one another to get a better deal. Cavill likely wants lots of money, and Warner Brothers likely doesn't want to pay him that much money. That's really what it is. Or maybe Cavill wants a guaranteed Man of Steel 2. Maybe they don't want to quite guarantee that just yet. We don't know the details of exactly what's going on, but I think we will find out more. I think there's a lot of excitement for Henry Cavill to come back. People did like him as Superman. The common complaint that I always hear is people like Henry Cavill as Superman. They just didn't like the movies he was in. And that's why I really hope he gets another chance and they do a proper Superman movie, I would really love to see that. It's kind of similar to Superman Returns in Brandon Roth. If you remember, a lot of people like Brandon Roth but didn't like Superman Returns. I'm kind of in that group. I didn't really care for Superman Returns, but I thought Brandon Roth was an excellent Superman. Really, really good Superman. I really enjoyed the scenes he was in and that stupid CW crossover. The only reason I watched that is because he was back as Superman. And, you know, I really don't understand why they don't make a television show with him as Superman instead of that stupid Superman and Lois series, which it's going to be a terrible show. I read the pilot. It stinks. It stinks really bad. How do you have Brandon Roth? He's already done a terrible CW show, that League of Legends, or what was it, Legends of Tomorrow show. He already did that show. It was terrible. And then he comes back, picks up the mantle of Superman in a crossover series. So you already have a guy willing to do his show. He's already willing to do superhero television stuff. And you have the rights to Superman. You can do whatever you want. How do you not do that show again? I'm really confused on why you don't go forward with that. But whatever. You know, it would print money. But okay. I guess. Don't do it then. All right. So that's what's going on here. Here's the full little paragraph. The situation with Henry Cavill and Superman is complicated. Sources tell Heat Vision and that Cavill is not in any negotiations for any cameo and that the character is currently not in any script, not in Black Adam, not in the Batman, not even in the Flash. Such would be the most obvious project to insert the Kryptonian scene, as the film deals with both time travel and an alternate Earth and could serve as an easy entry point. The key word in all of this is currently. There is, however, interest and ideas and exploratory talks regarding what a Cavill appearance might look like. For remember, in Hollywood, anything goes. Cavill as Superman was to have made a cameo appearance in 2019 Shazam, but when talks got too complicated, the scene was shot with just the Man of Steel's torso. So here's what I think is going on. Like I said, and I agree with Cosmic Book News here. You have Warner Brothers feeding information, and you have Henry Cavill's camp feeding information. I do think they're talking. I do think there's a contract negotiation going on. I really don't think Deadline would have reported on it if they didn't have a lot of faith in their source. I think Deadline is, like I said, one of the bigger, more reliable entertainment websites. We'll see what happens, but the fact this is going on, it brings a lot of memories of that Spider-Man and Marvel thing. I think he's for sure coming back. I'm 95% sure he's coming back. But another report here from Cosmic Book News, they did some good information gathering here on this, is that a lot of this might have to do with JJ Abrams and what he wants to do. I had some fun in my previous video saying JJ's Superman movie is in the trash. That's because JJ's original idea, from what's been reported, is that they were going to cast a younger Superman and go in a different direction. If Henry Cavill comes back, Abrams' movie is kind of in the trash, and this is going to be a whole new direction. And the other big thing is this apparently relies on how well received the Snyder Cut is. That could possibly lead to a Man of Steel 2 as well. I mean, we'll see what happens. But here's the report that they have here, and this is according to John Campea. He was told 2 sources have filled him in that JJ Abrams is indeed doing Superman. He claims the sources have filled him in about previous DC info that has come true, including Ben Affleck leaving the Batman role. He said one source has said JJ Abrams is doing Superman and that Abrams could very well use Henry Cavill. A second source is telling Campea that Abrams is doing Superman with Henry Cavill. The reason they have not announced anything is they want Abrams to still have some flexibility to make those decisions. And here's another interesting bit. You can thank Dwayne Johnson for Henry Cavill's return as Superman. This pretty cool art here. I guess The Rock commissioned this, which is pretty awesome. This is some really cool info here that I didn't even know, so check this out. Thank Dwayne Johnson for Henry Cavill's return as Superman. Obviously, we will have to wait to see how everything unfolds, but as I have been stating for a while now, a big reason Henry Cavill could return to the DCEU is because of Dwayne Johnson. Johnson reportedly wants to keep the DCEU as a shared cinematic universe, which I honestly would like as well. I would like to see movies like The Joker as well as a shared universe, but keep it how they've been doing it. Like Aquaman and Wonder Woman and Shazam were great movies a really good example of how they could do it, like loosely shared, I think is the good way to go about this. Involving Black Adam and the Justice Society of America instead of having standalone DC movies, and he wants the Henry Cavill Superman involved, who happens to be rumored for Black Adam. The Rock also commissioned Henry Cavill Superman art versus his Black Adam, pictured above, from Boss Logic. We should probably add that Dwayne Johnson is actually invested in Henry Cavill, as basically his production company manages the Superman actor. Dwayne Johnson's ex-wife, business partner, and co-founder of their production company, Danny Garcia, is the manager of Henry Cavill, who, along with The Rock, produces the Shazam and Black Adam movies. There was actually a rumor that both Dwayne Johnson and Henry Cavill were leaving DC for Marvel. So Dwayne Johnson and his team may have told WB they want Henry Cavill back, or it's the highway. And I remember those rumors that they were leaving for Marvel. That was a big rumor, and it just kind of vanished. At the end of the day, I think Henry Cavill has been trying to get this done for a while. I thought this stuff with The Rock was interesting because they have big hopes for that Black Adam movie. And how cool would it be for these two to fight in that movie? So, JJ Abrams, still in, unfortunately. Listen, AT&T, if you watch this, you have time. Get rid of Jar Jar. Get him out of here. Nobody wants him. Nobody wants him to do this movie. Look at what he did to Star Wars. He's a hack. He's a fraud. Please. Get rid of him. Anybody. Anybody but him. But at least we could get Henry Cavill back. That would be something. I can't think of a better Superman than him, right? At least right now, I can't. So we'll see what happens. I think this story is going to keep going. You're going to have people saying he's still in, he's out, he's in, he's out, and then I would expect within a month or two you'll have an official announcement that he's back. Like I said before, this screams Sony and Disney Spider-Man feud. It's almost the same story again, which tells me they're deep in contract talks, and they just need to agree on something stupid that someone doesn't want to budge on. I'd say he's going to come back. Probably, I'm 95% sure he's back. So we'll see what happens. I hope you enjoyed the video. Give me your take on everything in this. What are your thoughts on it? I'd like to hear them. Also, if you would, throw a like up, share the video. Make sure you're still subscribed. Subscribe if you're new. Hit that notification bell, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace. Also, if you want to help support the channel, check out my Teespring store. There's a link in the description. You can find some merchandise in there that you might want to check out.